What's up? Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Channel. We got Checkmate Flip Seth, and we got Josh here, and that other empty chair. Maybe Steve or a cat will come sit in.
He's go ahead.
I'd prefer a cat sit there.
Yeah, he's we got the neighborhood cat across the way, but yeah, we're just hanging out today. Yeah.
Yeah. We were just on Seth's channel. We were talking about some eBay flips and stuff. And what else has been going on with your guys' Amazons as you get ready for Q4?
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of transitioning a little bit more into. I was doing a lot of the completely used items, no new items at all, and now I'm transitioning a lot into the like new and new items so that the return rate goes lower, and then combining that with some higher volume, just regular OA listings for some account health stuff, because I think that's going to be a really big deal for me to be able to continue to do this for a long time.
Right on. So how are you changing your sourcing strategies to move from used to new? Because probably some of those ASINs you're on are a lot harder to find in new condition, right?
Yeah. So for now, surprisingly, I've been able to hit the spend goals that I'm trying to do with the same methods, just sourcing like new and new. But like once I get back up to like doing over 50K a month, I'll probably have to do it another couple ways, or at least adding more to the catalog is anyways, might have to try and do some of your strategy of like storefront stocking eBay sellers to do some of that as well. But yeah, how did you deal with that as you scaled? Because you've kind of been doing new items for a long time, right?
Yeah. I don't think I had really tried used items until hanging out with you a bit. I didn't really think about that being a possibility, and it certainly is for anyone watching. But there's some unique, just I guess in general, like higher return risk. The biggest thing that helped me scale was starting to capture my replens. For a while, I wasn't doing that at all, and I just randomly go through my sold stuff and look at what sold well and then try to find it again. And so it's kind of like a manual reverse search of my own store every couple months. And that's kind of wasteful. There's probably some really good ASINs that I sold a year ago that I've completely forgotten about because I wasn't capturing them at all. So that's definitely a big thing. And I know that you've been doing that for longer than me. That helped me scale quite a bit. Just a simple Google sheet. And yeah, I mean, broadening my searching methods, the number of eBay stores, that's been the big thing. But yeah, primarily it's just reverse searching eBay storefronts, finding stores that sell the kind of stuff I'm looking to sell, and then just scrape that data and steal all their good stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like the whole Amazon FBA storefront stocking. You really want to storefront stock someone who's doing the same thing that you're doing. Like, you can actually tell they're doing the same thing that you're doing. It's the same thing with an eBay store. You got to find the people who are selling the types of things that you would sell. If you get on the store and they're selling like a 1990s like Ralph Lauren hoodie and like a random like Coca-Cola 1980s thing, it's just like, all right, you're in the wrong store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want the trading card stores.
No.
Where they have like 1,000 football cards that are 99 cents each.
Yeah, that's not the move. Yeah. What's the plan going into Q4 for you? Do you have any specific strategies for like how you're going to maximize this Q4?
Yeah, I did all right last Q4, paying attention in a couple of the Discords for some toy bolos, and then doing RA trips locally and merchant fulfilling those. So I plan on doing a little bit of that. We'll see what toys end up being hot this Christmas season, and I'll go buy them all in my area because there's not a whole lot of competition in Alaska for retail arbitrage. So like, yeah. That's a good opportunity. Other than that, I'll probably just keep stocking my normal stuff. through the prep center.
Yeah, it's I feel like it kind of gets hyped up. The Q4 is like, oh, what are you going to do so different for Q4? But it's just like if you have a good base of stuff that you're already selling, like it's just gravy. I guess Avery, I don't know if you talked to Avery about this, but he says it's just like kind of icing on the cake, just extra sales during Q4.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff's giftable too, hopefully.
I'm curious. Were you doing the used items last Q4 still?
It was in like December. I
Okay.
was.
Because
Yeah.
I'm curious, just like whether you think like for example, like if you're gonna sell, I don't know, new Nintendo Switch from eBay to Amazon as opposed to like a used one, if you think that. I feel like the new is probably going to have a little bit more of that Q4 boost, but do you think any used items really get that, or it's not really giftable? So,
I mean, there's a lot of people who just want to save, like, get stuff half off.
Yeah.
As long as it works.
Yeah.
It'll all jump. The used,
Yeah, I think
that's surprising
everything.
that the used jumps as well. I didn't really realize that. Interesting.
I mean, I guess it depends on the item. If it's an item where getting a used one is going to work just as well, that'll jump. If it's something obvious that's like they're really going to want a new one, then
Yeah.
maybe the used won't jump as much.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think I probably don't have too many ASINs that meet this, but another thing to think about is December 31st is that cutoff for business owners for tax purposes. So there's probably going to be a boost in sales for those kind of things. And I know Seth has sold some of those categories in the past. I don't think I have too many.
You're talking like office supplies, stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe like computers, electronics, printers. I don't know. Think about whatever office supplies you have as an Amazon seller.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go look at what equipment they use at the local brick and mortar store to run their business.
That's smart. About that. Did you catch that, Steve?
My throat's fucked.
Oh yeah. Go for it. Yeah, our neighbor was smoking some weed. I think you can definitely smell it.
Colorado.
Good old Colorado.
That's about right. And kind of off the Amazon topic, but what brought you out to Alaska?
Yeah, I've been up here 5 years. The Army moved me up here and finished up my contract and decided to stay here. Pretty awesome spot.
Yep. And how was the transition for you? So did you have anything kind of in between the Army and then running your own business, or were those kind of back to back? And I'm curious how that transition was for you. And
Yeah, it was just back to back, nothing in between. So the Army's really been my only traditional full-time job that I've done. Did that for a little over 4 years, and then jumped right into this. And there definitely were some challenges in the beginning, primarily because we had planned on going full-time into kind of some different tourism business venues, but the pandemic hit and nobody was traveling. So it's like, well, crap, we can't open an Airbnb because nobody's going to rent it. We can't do these other tourism itinerary planning because nobody's going to do those. So we jumped into the Amazon a little deeper. I had been doing it at the time with the goal of $1-2 grand profit a month just to supplement other stuff going on. So we scaled that up, and probably the first 6 or so months there's a steep learning curve. Like I didn't know my numbers at all. So there was a month or two where I was like, yeah, we're making enough, and I paid ourselves a certain amount, and then the next month I was like, oh, we didn't even make half that last month. I need to get inventory lab. But yeah, really weird transition going from a career where it was pretty restrictive what I could do in my free time. Got to ask permission to go anywhere, even like on the weekends. I'd have to put in like paperwork if I wanted to go significantly far away from my duty station, to like the complete opposite, complete freedom. Like nobody's checking up on me. Nobody's telling me when to work. Nobody's telling me I don't have to ask permission to travel or any of that. So I'm still adjusting to that ultimate freedom after not having any freedom. But yeah, what about you, Josh? You come from a job before this, or school, or what's your background?
Yeah, so senior year of high school was 2019. Grades weren't the greatest. I had some trouble in the middle of sophomore, junior year with drugs and alcohol, stuff like that. So I kind of had to reinvent myself a little bit. It was just working. I was working at a Panera up in Vermont. I started there kind of the start of senior year. And somewhere around springtime, so like early 2020, they were like, "Hey, you've shown exceptional leadership here. Da 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 da. Do you have any interest in being a manager here when you turn 18?" And I was like, "Sure." I was like, "Cool. Sounds like a good opportunity." COVID was hitting at the same time, so I wasn't really sure where I was going to be at. So I kind of just wanted something stable, and I mean, working in that kind of environment, you're not going to make the kind of money that you can make working on your own or pursuing some kind of further education. But it was really incredible for me because I got to manage people that were 15, 16, all the way up to like 70 years old sometimes, and I had to learn to deal with problems and get a lot of low ticket sales and just learn how to talk to people over the phone and all those good skills. So I think that was a really, really big building block for me. It was just learning like those kind of managerial skills, how to interact with other people, the HR kind of stuff. And then, there was some COVID stuff that was happening there that I didn't really, I just didn't think they were handling COVID as well as like I would have wanted to. My mom's a nurse, so I didn't want to and I had enough money saved at the time where I was like, I'm gonna resign. I'm gonna figure out something else to do. Might pursue college, not really sure. Kind of got into the stock market, had a good stint with that. And it just became a little bit too much psychologically for me, spending all my time every day doing that. So then I found FBA through my good friend Ben Books the World plug on Instagram, and he was doing bulk books, and I was like, hey, this kid I know from high school did $190,000 in book sales last year. Like and he's got a warehouse. He's 19. He's got employees. Like, what am I missing out on here? So I kind of just hit him up. I was like, hey, we didn't really know each other that well at the time. I was just like, hey, you're ever back in Vermont? I would love to, buy you a meal, pick your brain a little bit, just, talk shop. And, we kind of kept doing that. He kind of gave me some pointers here and there, watched some YouTube videos, and just kind of jumped right in. Started going to thrift stores, book sales, that kind of stuff. Restock limits hit, and then I had to pivot and started going into OA, and that's kind of been the general trajectory for the last, 9-10 months now.
Right on.
Yep.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, man.
It's
I worked at Panera for a little bit as a delivery driver. It was awful.
Nice.
It's like the delivery driver, like when I wasn't out delivering, they're like, do this other menial task that nobody else wants to do.
Oh yeah,
like,
we did that to them too.
Yeah. It was like a in-between job, and it was, I guess as far as I never worked in any other sort of restaurant environment. I guess as far as restaurant environments, that's probably a better one than others. It's not like a greasy fry job or something like that. But
Cracker Barrel job.
Cracker Barrel, is that where you were at for a while, Steve?
Oh man, yeah. It is a good skill because if you could learn how to manage working a restaurant job and deal with that stress, I'll tell you, Amazon's a breeze.
It really is, man. It really is. Like you have, you got the losses here and there, and you got this stuff, but I mean, you got a budget for that kind of thing. And at the end of the day, you know, you don't have to deal with people for the most part, especially in what we do. It's like, you know, we're not really doing much customer service or anything like that. I don't miss the customer service too much, but definitely a good skill to pick up while you're young. Because it helps with everything, you know, it helps with networking and, you know, meeting new people you've never talked to, you know, all that good stuff. So it really does, you know, it humbles you, and it's very helpful as a long-term skill.
Absolutely. Yeah. Steve, how many stars did you get at Cracker Barrel? You get like one for every 10 years or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I got up to 2. And
Whoa.
then I knew it wasn't meant to be. I just didn't have the grit. I didn't have the resilience.
You should have stuck with it, quitter.
I'll tell you though, the one thing I loved about working at the Cracker Barrel was, oh boy, were there a lot of good-looking waitresses there. We made some real good connections over there. Let me put it that way.
They were impressed by your 2-star status, huh?
Well, that's the thing.
Even those 2 stars.
Yeah, nothing else. It was the 2 stars. So
wow. It's admirable.
You want to see Rankin Profit in an apron, baby? Come on,
dude. I'm good. I'll pass.
Dude, it was brutal though, man. Like, the restaurant industry is a crazy job, especially being a manager. I would not want to do that, Josh. Ugh.
Yeah, it was tough, especially at 18, because, you know, like, I mean, I just turned 18, and I've got, you know, like, you know, you've got all those. I mean, I feel like in any restaurant job, you kind of have that segment of people that's like 20 to 35 that's like not really sure what they want to be doing yet, and they definitely did not want to be told what to do by me. So that was definitely a very interesting challenge, but good one to overcome, and really actually ended up building up those relationships with those people even more over time than I expected to, just because I came in with maturity, and, you know, it was, you know, if you present yourself in a good way, I think most people will gravitate towards that over time, even if they don't, you know, like what tier you're at compared to them in the workplace, especially.
Yeah, that's a weird place to be as the young guy on the team in charge. And I had that same experience in the military. When I came in as a lieutenant, like, my first job, I'm in charge of like around 40 soldiers underneath me, and my right hand guy is he's been in the military for like 15 years more than me.
Yep.
And I'm the decision maker. Like, that's weird. I was really uncomfortable, and it took me a while to get comfortable with that and be confident in my decisions, but also like rely on the wisdom and experience of these guys that knew so much more than me, had so much more experience than me. Like, you got to have a humbleness in where you're at, but also confidence in those decisions and acting them out.
Exactly.
How did you land that position?
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, like, what do you think, like, if you had to guess, or maybe, you know, one of your superiors said, hey, this is why we want you in this position? I'm curious, because there are other soldiers, right, who are there for longer than you. What do you think was your secret?
Yeah, some of it is just kind of the normal trajectory of how the military does things, right? So I went to ROTC through college, and so that commissioned me as an officer. And so as an officer, there's different positions that you're eligible for, as opposed to the enlisted track, where you just go to basic training. You don't do college or officer training. And so that was really the only thing there that distinguished me, is I went to college and did ROTC and was commissioned. Everybody that worked for me was enlisted. And so I wasn't necessarily, it's like, okay, I guess that's just the way the military sets it up. There wasn't anything, like, I was brand new on the job. I hadn't proven myself as an all-star in any way, and they selected me. But that's the military's method, and there's pros and cons to it. At the beginning, I was like, this is kind of silly, but looking back, I'm like, okay, I see some benefits to doing it that way long-term for the military as a whole. Definitely an interesting structure when you got, so some of the guys I worked with were retiring and finishing their career there. That was like their peak position, and I was just starting my career, like having them work for me. So it's interesting dynamic.
Josiah, I'm curious what your 2023 goals are, because like we were kind of talking about that, and like it's hard to balance out like going after the opportunities that are high ROI versus like being focused on something. So like, what are your thoughts on what 2023 is going to be like for you?
Yeah, like Amazon specific or business in general?
Yeah, start with Amazon, and then you could obviously go outwards. But what's the goal? Because you're up to, I don't know, are you maintaining the 6-figure mark per month right now, or is that just kind of a crazy month?
Yeah, I think we'll hit 6 figures this month. Also, we're on track for it. Despite a little slowdown from the prep center, but I think we kept things moving. Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't really thought too much about goals for next year. This year, I started the year with I want to do $1 million in sales, and then I started thinking about that more. I was like, well, why do I want to do $1 million? Like that's kind of just a flashy number, and so I prefer to kind of put a profit goal. Like that's more meaningful because I could do $1 million in sales, yeah, and do like 15 grand profit. And it's like a pretty awful business flipping, just 15 grand from my Rakuten check, and my Amazon business is 0.1% ROI.
The dream.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people put the revenue goals there. I think the profit's a little more important. So for this year, the goal was kind of like around 200 profit from Amazon, which I think with our current ROI would probably have to be around $1 million in revenue. So I haven't really thought about next year, but at least that much. What's always been in my mind is I work a certain amount on this Amazon, and I'm going to scale it to the point I can to its max potential within those hours. I don't want to work more. And if that's 2 million in revenue, then that's the peak. If that's 1 million, then that's the peak. But right now, I think I'm doing under 20 hours a week on this, and there's tons of potential to cut that time down even more if I get some buyers like you, Steve, or like what you've been working on, Seth, or delegate more to my virtual assistants. But yeah, man, that's a good question. Like 2023 still seems kind of far off for me, but looking at the calendar, it's not.
We responded the same way. Like, I don't know which one of us brought it up, but we were all kind of like, oh, that's a good question. So we were kind of just spitballing. Sometimes it's good just to throw a bunch of ideas out there, and then, kind of gets your brain thinking subconsciously over the next couple of weeks,
Yeah. Seth is always talking about that reseller nirvana spot, where you get to a point where you're kind of done scaling and you just buy the quantity that you're selling. So I'm looking forward to that perhaps being an opportunity to explore in the coming year, start paying ourselves a lot more in order to purchase a house the following year. So probably we'll aggressively continue to aggressively scale the first quarter, maybe the second quarter of 2023. And then we'll probably maintain that level and start pulling some cash out to move into other things.
And that's not to say that you're not pulling out cash now. Like you're still pulling out cash now, just not to the drastic like $30K a month that you're potentially thinking.
Yeah. We're certainly living comfortably. If I was paying myself more than I'm paying myself right now, I don't know what I'd do with it. I'd probably end up investing it in another business. Like I don't know what I'd spend it on for myself. I guess I could go get some sports cars, but
Dairy Queen,
dude, that's a lot of Dairy Queen.
Ice bath, get an ice bath, man.
An ice bath, yeah. I was thinking about, what do you guys think about this? Getting an inflatable hot tub and putting it in my garage. Good idea.
Only if you live stream your videos in there.
Yeah. I'll do a live every morning about my morning ritual where I go into the
morning ritual automation.
Yeah, exactly. My wife doesn't think we can.
That's too many words.
.com. You should put that on your Instagram.
Buy the domain.
Morning ritual automation. Oh, goodness. I was going to ask you too, though, are there any other businesses completely separate or any even just like hobbies that you are interested in spending either some time or some money on in 2023?
Good question.
Yeah. Right now we're getting back into curling. You know, the sport.
Yeah.
We did that on and off for like 2 years or so, and had a lot of fun. Really good way for us to spend our cold, dark winters up here, drinking and in a cold room on ice. And so we're looking forward to. We've had a game or two, and actually this weekend we're in a tournament, so that should be fun. Maybe we'll bring home some prize money again. Probably not. So yeah, definitely spending more time doing that. Other business stuff, trying to grow our travel business. And my wife has this idea. She wants to open a Lego store like a couple of years from now in Anchorage. There's nothing like that up here. I think there would be a good demand. There's, roughly 300,000 people here. So it's like a decent sized city. So maybe in our future, we'll have a brick and mortar Lego store of some
A lot of
type.
good inventory there for you too.
Yeah, that could pair well with some Amazon sales.
Have you guys looked into like what the franchising is on that at all, or is it kind of just a rough idea still?
Kind of a rough idea. I don't know about the potential of a franchising. We were kind of thinking like a third party. There's some third party like brick stores, I think is what they call themselves, that resell Legos in some variety. And I don't know if I got to look into and figure out how they get their Legos. Like, do they get wholesale deals direct with Lego, or are they just like doing what we're doing and they're buying them from Kohl's with a coupon?
I would hope.
Where did my Kohl's cash go? It's all gone.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be a better way that these brick and mortar third party places are doing.
Kohl's never has any Legos though. Like
they just have like some dude like trying to buy 2 at a time.
like I feel like if I opened a Lego store in town and it got big enough that people recognize me, I feel like I'd get some shade clearing out the Walmart aisles and then driving it down the street to stock on my shelves.
We got
Cisco.
Hello, Cisco. Good to
Some
see
handsome man. I think he's talking about you three.
That's
What's up, Chief? Chief, we ignored your question. Is new selling more than used in your stores? Just wondering the percentage difference you guys think it is. I think it depends on the product. And Seth has figured out how to read the Keepa pretty good and see kind of the velocity of used. What are your guys' thoughts? Steve, you do a little bit of used too in the media.
Yeah, it's mostly new, but I mean, I used to sell used stuff on Amazon all the time. I think it depends. Surprisingly, I sold mostly used books, but new books sell way faster than used. Mm-hmm. And with DVDs, it really just depends on the price point. I'm not sure, but I think it depends what type of items you're going after. Like board games, new is always going to sell faster just because people want new.
I wouldn't want to buy used board games.
What about used electronics versus new, Seth?
It's just basically a thing of like if it's a fast in demand electronic that's just flying off the shelves new, like it's going to sell used as well. I kind of just look at how many people are on the listing total and like if they're competitive offers, whether they're competitive for used, competitive for new, and then kind of see how the whole listing is doing. I would just take all that into an account.
And you were
yeah, you go ahead.
I was going to say you were saying too that the return rate on used is so much substantially higher that I feel like that's kind of something that should be factored into the velocity over time.
I think it depends on the item though, not to cut you off, because I had books used
books are such a low return rate.
Yeah, like electronics a lot, I think.
Well, like I know some people who do used electronic eBay to Amazon, but they do all their own prep, so they do their quality control, and so they're not sending it straight to a prep center, and their return rate is like fine. But sending it straight to a prep center, like logically speaking, of course, there's going to be return issues with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's kind of a different question than like how much it sells.
Speaking of prep centers, Josiah should start his own prep center. It'd be the only one in Alaska.
I thought about that, man.
It's a disadvantage.
Yeah, see who I could trick into shipping their stuff up here. It's a sales tax free state.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, see, he tricked you.
Only sales tax.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
think
Yeah, that would be a good business model for me, a terrible business model for people using it.
The only prep center who charges $375 per item.
But they would get free access to morning ritual automation. So.
Exactly. Live from Josiah's garage.
Yes. This whole garage is now a business expense. Yeah, exactly.
So Josiah, it seems like you're really kind of, based on the conversation we were having previously about goals, you're still almost on the fence about, do I really want to push this thing and maybe double it, triple it, go crazy, or because you do have other income streams as well. So that's interesting, man, because I feel like you could grow it if you want, but when you're growing, obviously you're not able to pay yourself as much. There could be more problems with prep. You're amplifying everything. Is that kind of like you're thinking? You're still you haven't really put thought into it. You're still like on the fence, because I know for the average person, they'd be like, why would you not scale or grow if you could, right?
But also the thing is he's doing like $100K a month, and like his profit margins are healthy. So it's like,
yeah,
people would also say like, oh, if I was doing 60% of his profit, like I'd be, I'm set. So there's kind of that.
I don't
balance.
know if I'd want to go over 100 just because I have other streams, and I would love to get to that nirvana point. Again, I know we already talked about this, but my brain was just thinking like, man, like it's such an interesting, topic.
Yeah. Haven't gotten all my numbers back from my bookkeeper yet, but we did 100 last month, and that was probably it was definitely over 20 grand profit. So that's a pretty chill spot to be.
I like
and
that.
we're real comfortable in our personal lifestyle and not even paying ourselves half that from this business. And
we're
our
not
other
in debt.
Yeah, no debt. We're just chilling. So it's super relaxing. And what's keeping me going right now is the goal to buy a house. If I didn't have that goal, I don't know. I might take a step back and just let things run. Because like that's a pretty decent amount of money. I don't know if I was paying myself 20 a month, I don't know what I'd spend it on. Like I don't have a desire to have all those. I don't want a Rolex, Josh wants one. That's cool.
I mean, I think it to each his own, but I mean, if you can justify it, like if you've got the money to do it and you can say, this is going to put me in different circles, or, because I have heard of people that are like, they will close a deal because they have a nice car or a nice watch. So I think, to each his own, but Rolex is cool when it's, tangible, I suppose.
Yeah. No, if that's something you want, I think if I were to get a Rolex, it would be to impress other people. And I think that's maybe not a good reason to get one. And right now, I don't have a desire to have something that's going to put me in contact with people and shake hands and close deals. Like I'm good at home, chilling on the internet.
Hey, Josiah, I'm curious. You said you work about 15 to 20 hours a week right now in your business. Would you be open to breaking down? And I know it probably differs from week to week, because maybe one week you're having to train a virtual assistant, or another week could be something else. What is your typical, what are you typically spending your time doing out of that 15 to 20 hours per week? I'd really be curious. I don't know if I've ever asked you that question.
Yeah, I spent about 19 hours creating POAs to fight IP claims.
Crazy. That's what we love, Josiah.
And about 20 minutes purchasing products.
Yeah, I have one eBay seller, and I drop ship Lamborghinis from his storefront onto Amazon. And yeah, it's pretty good. Honestly, my structure, I don't have any structure at all. I just kind of do what I feel every day. But a lot of the time is spent reviewing replenishables and purchasing those, as well as reviewing and purchasing the new leads from my one virtual assistant. I only have one VA right now, and she handles everything pretty well. And I trained her earlier this year. Don't really have much to add on to that training. The SOP I have her do, she just kind of goes and runs with it. And honestly, I only talk to her like twice a month, which is pretty bad. But it's like, hey, I sent your payment. I hope you got it. And she's like, yep, I got it. And then the other time I'd be like, oh, hey, I just remembered you work for me. How's things going? And so I know a lot of people talk to their VAs a lot more often, but I spend most of my time reviewing leads, purchasing them. A little bit of messing around with repricing in Be Cool, probably not more than an hour a week. And then more time than I wish looking at the health metrics. That's the honest answer for that part. And yeah, I estimate it to be under 20, but I don't keep track because my life is not structured.
So, if you don't mind me jumping in, so you've been doing the eBay to Amazon flips for what, 2 years now?
I started exploring it, yeah, probably about 2 years ago.
So, what percentage? And again, I'm just throwing these things out because I'm trying to think about my business. Like my business, we still do some sourcing of new leads and stuff, but we have such a large replens list that we source a lot directly from that replens list. How important is that your virtual assistant's bringing new leads to the surface for you to find new products to purchase versus just running off your old replens list? Because you probably have, you've sold what, probably, well over $1 million worth of products now. So you probably have a wide variety of items that you could replenish. So I'm really curious if you don't mind touching on that.
Yeah, what I found is because a lot of the eBay sellers I target are more liquidation type, that the replenishability of those products has a lifespan that's shorter. At some point, that supply on eBay is going to disappear, whether it's because it's a discontinued product and just all that discontinued stuff from Target over the course of 5 or 6 months makes its way to eBay or the end consumer, and then I scoop it up. At some point, that supply disappears for most of the products. So it is pretty important right now, the way we're doing it, to find new leads. Some of them are one-offs where for some reason some guy's got 30 of a unit and he's got a really good price, and I scoop them up and I can never find them again for that price or never find them at all. So yeah, in that way, because we're going for the bulk, trying to find the bigger quantities, finding new stuff is pretty important. And so, yeah, that's the one thing. In order to continue scaling, I've been thinking about the last few weeks. I either need to spend more time, which I don't want to do. I need to better train my VA, so I'm getting better quality leads across the board. I mean, she gives me good stuff, but there's a decent amount of stuff that's not great. Or I need to hire a purchaser, or I need to get another VA for sourcing. So I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I'm still tossing all those ideas back and forth, but I gotta kind of change something or add to our business model in order to keep scaling, basically. And I'm a little bit lazy, and so that's why I haven't done it yet.
We all.
It's only so much time in a day.
I'm curious for the three of you, because I don't have a VA at all right now. What was the inflection point that you each knew that it was time for you to add a virtual assistant to your business? Anyone?
I'll jump in. I mean, I was sick and tired of having to source, 7, 8, 9 hours a day. And, I think I have a little bit of that lazy bone inside of me too, But I think a lot of it led to just being burnt out. And, I enjoy obviously having my own personal time and posting on YouTube and doing other things as well. It was just too time consuming. And I felt like I figured out the recipe for how to do it. Like, although over time I'm getting better and better, like 6 months ago, I was like, wow, I really figured it out, but I really didn't. And I'm sure in 6 months from today, I'll be like, oh, wow, I was doing things wrong. But once I figured out the recipe, how to source and how to somewhat automate it in a sense, I was like, I know that I could get somebody else to do that and leverage this so I could focus on growing the business. Because while sourcing is extremely important, it's probably one of the most important things. There are a lot of other elements of the business as well. And again, I'm big into social media, coaching, doing things like that. So I just figured I could, do other things with my time.
Yep. So it wasn't, I don't know, I'll wait for the other two of you to speak, but for you at least, it wasn't a profit number that you said I can afford to do this. It was more I need to get my time back and I'm going to scale my business.
I think it was because I had other income streams, and I know for a lot of people watching that might be your only thing.
Yeah.
They're like, you want to. For me, it was I wanted to increase my hourly pay.
Yeah.
When I was doing everything, my hourly pay was really low. But as you start to outsource it, now I'm really spending 3 to 5 hours a week on average right now. It is going to increase over the next couple months as I implement new systems, hire new people, and do things like that. But I think when you have multiple income streams, it's a little different.
Totally agree.
I was distracted by Rice Flip's comment. I wanted to say thank you guys so much. You've helped me reach my goal of 25 IP complaints for October. Great tip on how I should list poop in the Nutella jar. New instead of used acceptable. Wow.
Man, if that's not funny to you, you need to go.
In your life.
If that's not funny, you need to go watch that video on Seth's channel to give you some context.
Yeah.
Set aside like an hour.
Yeah, that was from that. He was bantering with us on that jokes how to get IP complaints and keep them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, really quality. Well, we've been going for about 40 minutes. I'll answer your VA question there, and then we can wrap it up. For me, at the beginning, I wasn't comfortable with it because I didn't feel like we had the revenue to support one. And then we got to a certain point where I felt like we could afford that expense in the business. And also I had a good enough understanding of directing a VA such that those 40 hours a week would actually be spent on something productive and we'd get enough value out of it. At the beginning, I didn't trust my methods. I didn't have a good understanding of what was going on. And so I felt like I couldn't train someone or manage someone to do those tasks for me. Similar for you, Seth, or what are your thoughts before we wrap?
I actually missed what the main question was. So
when were you ready to get a VA?
When was I ready?
You were thinking about it.
Basically, what was that?
You were busy thinking about Nutella, huh?
No, I was reading. I knew we were talking about VAs, but Rice Flip's comment was funny. I kind of just it was from an hourly perspective too. Like especially late last year, I was like kind of documenting all the different things I do in my business, and then at the end of the week, I would like look at like what my hourly inputs into the business were potential profit wise, and so like if I listed 3,000 potential profit and it took me a certain amount of hours per week, that's an hourly of this. But then if a VA is doing my inputting into the prep center sheet and I didn't have to do that, that increases my hourly. So at the point where I felt like a VA was actually going to help me increase my hourly, that's when I made the jump. Yep.
Right on.
What I did.
Well, thanks for hanging out, guys. Good chatting with you. Likewise to everybody in the comments there. Yes. And we'll see y'all next time.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. Peace.